Hey guys, it's Ron Ed. Just kind of checking in, make another video about some more thoughts on Vegas. Yesterday I watched a video that 1005 on 1005's channel, and I made a comment in the comment section, and trying to elaborate on some things, and just so much was coming to mind that I decided that I'd make a video about it to elaborate on it a little bit further. And basically, what point I was trying to make is, we were talking about cuts in the door, and yeah, the door does appear to be cut. And Charlton seems to think that the door was cut in order to keep from manipulating or setting off the deadbolt sensor, which is entirely possible. But the debate, I guess, is when it was cut and why they were not wanting to set off the deadbolt sensor, the motive behind that, so to speak, And the door was definitely cut at some point or another. In one picture, the door is intact. It's one piece. Then in another picture, the door's in two pieces, Or at least, let me say, in that one picture, it appears to be in one piece. Whether they got it stuck together to make it look that way, I don't know. But it appears to be in one piece in one picture. And all of a sudden it's cut in two pieces in another. Now, that's kind of debatable. That just goes along with the rest of the stuff in this investigation. It doesn't make much sense, And it's left for us to determine, when it was cut, why it was cut, so on and so forth. Because the LVMPD and the FBI has not been very forthcoming on these kind of issues, and they haven't answered our questions very well. If anything, they give us more questions. They give us information that leaves more questions in our minds. But anyway, something that Charlton also thinks is this thing has something to do with drugs. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I doubt it. And the reason I doubt it is if it has so much to do with guns, or with drugs, then why all the guns? And like Tien had previously said in another video, most of them guns were bought within the last year, I think. Something like that. But why the need for all the guns? I mean, I understand if you're wanting to... If you believe that Paddock was alone and Paddock is all Paddock, and he has all those magazines, 100-round magazines, at his disposal, why have all those guns? Why not have 5 or 6, maybe even 10 guns max? And that's too many, But if it were me, and I was going to do something that evil, I would line 5 or 6 guns up beside wherever I was shooting from, and I would have stacks of magazines right there beside of them. And you pick one gun up, you fire it till it's empty. You set it down. You pick the next gun up, you fire it till it's empty. You set it down. You pick the next gun up, you fire it till it's empty, you set it back down. And then until you get to the end of them, and then you reload all of them at once. Won't take just a few minutes. I know you got to wrestle with the magazines, but it won't take but just a couple of seconds. And we heard a lot more than a couple of second intervals between volleys now, didn't we? So it just didn't seem very organized. And especially the way the room looked after the fact, whenever they supposedly breached the room. There's guns strewn all over the place. No kind of order whatsoever. It's just inefficient all the way around. If his mission was to shoot up that concert, he probably did it in the most inefficient way he possibly could for all the planning he supposedly did. I mean, you got guns laying everywhere that you're tripping over trying to find one that's still got bullets in it. That makes no sense. Line all your guns up, have them ready, have your magazines ready for when you go through the magazines that are already in the guns. You know, unload all the rounds and all those guns. Pick the magazines up, clip them in, clip them in, clip them in. Resume your firing. And in between each gun, you can turn around and look at the camera to see if anybody's coming down the hallway. Just doesn't seem efficient the way he did it, you know, the way he did it at all. And, you know, another problem I have, but kind of different subject, but, you know, still dealing with Las Vegas, Campos. Campos stated that he was shot with a pellet. He thought was a pellet. Have y'all ever heard of 223? You hear a 223 go off, whether the door's closed or not, you're going to know it's a freaking gun. I've never heard a pellet gun sound like an AR-15. I'm sorry, and I've shot guns all my life. They don't sound nowhere near the same. You can barely hear a pellet gun compared to an AR-15. So the fact that he's hearing AR-15 gunfire, but he thinks he was shot with a pellet, that don't add up to me at all. At all. You're hearing real gunfire. Chuck thinks it's a freaking jackhammer. Okay, for benefit of the doubt, let's say, you know, it was only as loud as a jackhammer. Well, a pellet gun is not as loud as a jackhammer either. Sorry to say. So the fact that he thought he was hit with a pellet is freaking ridiculous, or he's a freaking liar. Don't know which, but something ain't adding up there. There's no way, if I hear gunfire, especially gunfire, you know, because apparently the gun was pointed at him. I know there's a door in the way, which will muffle some of the sound, but not all of it, not enough to think it was a pellet gun. I mean, for Christ's sake, that just does not make sense, to think you were hit with a pellet. But that's, I don't know what to think of Campos or Shuck. I think that maybe some of their story is true, maybe none of their story is true. But the point is, there's no way that Campos had to have thought that he was hit with a pellet. I just don't buy that. Unless he is really, really not very intelligent. And I hate to say that about somebody, because especially somebody who was shot. But I realized that where the bullet didn't do a whole lot of damage, as much as he might think a gunshot would do. When you couple that, though, with the sounds that he was hearing, he should know that it wasn't a pellet. Plain and simple, he should know. So what's up with that? Why the discrepancy? Why think you're shot with a pellet when you're hearing gunfire, real gunfire? Or at least something loud enough to be perceived as gunfire, real gunfire. That's just something to chew on, you know. As far as the doors go, there's no way of us being able to tell truthfully when they were cut. You know, but if they were cut to get around the interrogation locks, that would lead me to believe that it was cut during the shooting or right around the time of the shooting, whatever, right before it. But as unorganized as the shooter was during the shooting, if it was Paddock, I can't see him thinking about that interrogation lock all that much. And if it was a suicide mission, why worry about it anyway? I mean, I guess maybe to buy yourself some time. I don't know, but you know, people sitting in the security office, seeing somebody go in and out of their door a lot, yeah, it might raise a little suspicion, but they got a whole lot of hotel rooms to kind of monitor. Is it really going to stand out that much? somebody going in and out, in and out, in and out of a room a whole lot? No, I don't think so. I'm not going to raise that much suspicion until after the fact. But my point is, I guess my two biggest points is, I find it hard to believe that Campos actually thought he was hit by a pellet with all that gunfire noise in the background. And two, if you're going to commit a mass murder on all those people, a massacre, why have guns strewn all over the place? Why not have them stacked up right there where you're at, so you don't have to move around a whole lot, and just have stacks of magazines there, so when you get to the end of the line of the guns that you got stacked up, by the time you get to the end, the first one will be cooled off enough to reload and fire again. You don't need 20 some odd guns. You just need 5 or 6 of your favorites that you know don't jam very often, and rock and roll. Now, I mean, you know, if you're evil enough to do something like this, that's the way I would do it if I was that evil. Thank God I'm not. But anyhow, tell me what you think. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. As you know, I'm trying to grow the channel. I'll leave my PayPal account information in the description below too. You know, if you feel so led, send a donation. I'm trying to buy a new laptop so I can make better quality videos. Not just about Vegas, but about, current events and, news and that kind of thing. So, yeah, if you can, hit me up. Thanks.